Today, the original monster sits in dry dock. A more familiar way to carry hundreds of passengers around the world is the Boeing 747. It has carried 1.6 billion people and has travelled more than 35 billion kilometres, the equivalent of flying the entire populations of London, Paris and Berlin to the moon and back. But with passenger numbers expected to double by the year 2010, new airliners twice the size of the 747 are needed to meet the demand. An aerodynamics team from NASA, Boeing and Stanford University is developing a new super airliner able to hold 1,000 passengers. So that the full-scale version can use the existing airport facilities, its overall wingspan will have to be no greater than the 747. To create the extra room and the extra lift needed for nearly 1,000 people and their luggage, this design has abandoned the traditional shape of fuselage and wing. It has fused the body and the wing together into a design called the bwb, the blended wing body.
Well, the advantages of this configuration over a conventional airplane with separate fuselage and engines mounted on the wings is both in terms of its aerodynamic performance, its drag, and in terms of its structural weight. So it's lighter and cleaner aerodynamically, and this translates to a predicted fuel savings of as much as 30%.
The blended wing body is a concept over 70 years old. Recently it was used in the ultra-stealthy B-2 bomber. Only the engine exhausts protrude from this futuristic shape. This concept used to be called the flying wing. The designers knew that it could carry huge amounts of fuel, cargo or bombs. But flying wings have no tailplane. Versions such as this YB-49 were highly unstable and without modern digital flight control systems, almost impossible to control. Not until the introduction of computerized technology did the flying wing become viable again. Many modern radical designs are intrinsically too unstable to be flown by hand.
The technology has gotten to the point that we can now build electronics and flight control systems small enough to fly inside models of this size. That means that we don't have to risk a test pilot on a very new idea. We can, at the very early stages of a program, build something like this and investigate the most critical and unknown issues.
Onboard computer control systems are pre-programmed before each test flight. With 15 flaps and ailerons, the blended wing body needs more than double the number of control surfaces, far more than a human pilot could handle alone. The pilot steers as normal, and the computer then coordinates the numerous control surfaces. For the design team, their first takeoff was a nerve-wracking moment. The success of the whole project rested on the first test flight. If the model crashed, 5 years of work and $4 million would be wiped out in an instant. But the first blended wing body model flight was a complete success. In fact, it was so successful that it demonstrated that this radical shape could outperform conventional designs by a huge margin. Creating a successful new aircraft that first breaks and then reinvents the rules is what every aircraft designer lives for.
We like building things that are different, not changing things a little bit and seeing what happens, but rather thinking about what we'd really like to have happen and starting with a clean sheet of paper.
The greatest challenge of all is speed. Large airliners like the blended wing body will remain subsonic. Concorde is still the only existing supersonic passenger plane. Designing a supersonic aircraft like this presents an entirely different set of problems. In a classic cold